When my dad introduced us to people, he always said, "This is Lena, our future lawyer." If I was there, I became, "And this is her sister." No name, no explanations, just a quiet shadow nearby. I used to think I was imagining it. Maybe I was just being too sensitive. But then came the graduation party 2 years ago. Lena's high school graduation. The whole family showed up in pastel clothes and forced smiles. My name wasn't even on the banner. And when my dad gave his speech, he said, "To my one and only star." I was standing just 3 feet away. Eventually, I stopped fighting it. I stopped asking why they didn't post my college acceptance, why they never visited, why every holiday card had a new photo without me in it. I remember staring at one Christmas photo they mailed out. They were all in Devon the dog. Where I used to be, Lena now stood in the center, holding the dog, parents beside her, like they were the perfect little family. They didn't crop me out. They retook the whole photo. No one ever said I was disowned. No one needed to. I learned how people vanish without funerals. How you can be erased quietly. My name is Ila Morgan. And if you ask my father, I don't exist. The email came on a Tuesday. Not from them, of course, but from the alumni office at Eastern University. The same school Lena and I both attended. Just in different timelines. Subject line: "Your invited class of 2025, commencement highlights." I almost deleted it. I usually ignore emails with confetti in the header. But something in the preview made me pause. Special guest keynote investor to be revealed at ceremony. Investor. I clicked. Scrolled past photos of smiling students. Donation links. Parking info until I saw it. A blurred out figure with the label. CEO of one of the fastest growing rural med tech startups in North America. Not confirmed, but heavily rumored to be me. My heart didn't know whether to race or stop. No one knew I was behind the company. I built it quietly, using a pseudonym, angel investments, and clinical partners. I didn't want attention. I wanted distance until now. A few hours later, another email arrived. This one wasn't meant for me. It was a string of forwards. From my aunt to the rest of the family. Photos of Lena in her cap and gown. Catering menus. Seating charts. Then one line from my dad. "Make sure Isa doesn't hear about it. Last thing we need is a distraction on Lena's big day." Distraction. That word stung more than any insult. They hadn't forgotten me. They planned around my absence. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel sad. I felt something colder, sharper. I wasn't going to crash her graduation. No. I was going to own the room next door. That night, I sat in the dark. No lights, no music. Just the fridge humming. And my laptop screen glowing softly. Their words echoed in my head. "Make sure Ila doesn't hear. She'll ruin it. She always finds a way to make it about herself." And I believed them. Not all at once. Not like a lightning bolt. But slowly like erosion. Wearing me down, year after year. Until I couldn't tell where their voices ended and mine began. Maybe they were right. Maybe I really was the problem. I thought about that Christmas I didn't go home. The birthdays I ignored. The texts I left unread from cousins who didn't know what to say. I thought about how I never told anyone about the company I built. How I filed every legal document under a fake name, just so it wouldn't be tied back to them. Maybe that was selfish. Or maybe it was the only way to protect myself. Even now, I wasn't sure. I stared at my reflection in the black screen of my laptop. Tired eyes, messy, half-up bun. A hoodie with my startup's logo. No one recognized the girl they once called a dropout. The girl who walked away. No one ever saw me the way I wanted to be seen. And if no one sees you, do you really exist? The next morning, I opened my laptop again. Logged into our investor portal. There it was, confirmation. Eastern University. Commencement keynote. Confirmed. Name to be announced. I hovered over the display name box. Typed 3 words. Clicked save. Ila Morgan, CEO. It started with a sound. A soft rustle in the back of my kitchen drawer. I wasn't looking for anything special. Maybe a takeout menu, maybe batteries. But my hand brushed paper. I pulled it out. A crumpled lunch receipt from 5 years ago. Faded, bent at the corners. The ink was almost gone. but I knew that handwriting in an instant. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. My mum's handwriting. She used to leave me little notes like that. On bathroom mirrors, inside library books, tucked in my coat pocket during cold exam weeks. She died when I was 19. She never saw what I built. She never got to watch me rise. But that sentence, it felt like she'd saved it for right now. That same day, a message came in from Oyenmi CTO. Investor Summit is locked. Same campus, same weekend, we're going. I stared at it for a long time. And then I remembered something else. Lena's graduation. It would be right across the quad from the summit. Same university, same date, same hour. It felt poetic, like someone had drawn a perfect circle, and quietly invited me to stand in it. I opened 2 tabs, one with the summit's itinerary, one with Eastern University's graduation ticket portal. Under guest name, I typed a fake variation of mine, reserved 1 front row seat. I didn't plan to speak. I didn't plan to cause a scene. I just wanted to watch, not hurt them. The people who erased me. I wasn't going back to reclaim my seat at the dinner table. I was going to own the entire building next door. At 2:07 a.m. exactly, the email came in. University confirmation. My seat at the Investor Summit, confirmed. Front row ticket at graduation, confirmed. 2 separate worlds. 1 campus. 1 weekend. And I had a foot in both. I didn't use my real name on the graduation ticket. Just a monogram variation. I wasn't looking for attention. Not yet. I just wanted to be close. Close enough to see my father's face, when he realized the ghost he buried could still walk into a room uninvited. The morning of the trip, I packed light. A blazer, 1 black dress, a pair of low heels I hadn't worn in years. The same ones I wore when I pitched my startup to a room full of investors who didn't even ask if I had a degree. Spoiler, I didn't. But I had numbers, a plan, a reason. On the train ride to East, I passed the old science building, the one where I used to nap between classes, where Lena once told her friends I was just a dropout who followed her around. Now, my name was quietly showing up in the summit program. When I arrived, the usher at the graduation gate scanned my ticket and smiled. This seat was requested early front row. Looks like someone really wanted you here. I smiled back. I guess they did. I sat down 3rd seat from the aisle. The sun warmed the back of my neck. As the graduates filed in, no one noticed me. Not yet. But I noticed everyone. And behind me, I heard a familiar voice. My father's, low, controlled, speaking to security. I glanced back, was near the entrance, talking to someone with a clipboard and a radio. His voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp. That same cutting tone he used when he wanted someone gone, without making a scene. I kept my head down. He didn't look right at me, just scanned the rows with that same disappointed squint. He gave me the day I left and never came back. The usher walked over. "Ma'am, can I confirm your name for the seating log?" I handed her my ticket. She nodded, smiled, moved on. 2 rows ahead, Lena sat with the other grads. Cap tilted just right. Gown smooth and pressed. She looked the same. Maybe colder. Maybe more polished. But I knew that look. The one she wore when she was putting on a show. She always knew how to play her role. A professor passed by, stopped, looked at me twice, then did a double take. "Wait," he whispered. "You're Ila Morgan of Metherite." I didn't answer, just gave a quiet smile. "I read your case study on tele-infrastructure Brintler work," he said loud enough for a couple people behind me to turn and stare. Across the quad, university banners waved. The loudspeakers crackled on. The ceremony was about to begin. Behind me, my father's voice rose again. "She's not supposed to be here. She's not on the list." I didn't move, didn't flinch. Let him look. Let him scan the crowd, confused and angry, because the girl he tried to erase, she wasn't there anymore. Only the woman in the front row was, and soon the whole school would know her name. The Investor Summit was set to start. 40 minutes after the graduation ceremony, just across the quad. Inside the glass auditorium, my company's name was already rotating. On digital banners, Metha Health closing keynote, How one startup quietly changed everything. I slipped out during the third speech, just as Lena's department head took the mic. By the time my father realized, my seat was already empty. Head never know ID been right in front of him. Backstage at the summit, my assistant handed me the final slide deck. All set. They still don't know it's you. Even the dean thinks the CEO is some reclusive Harvard alum. I nodded, flipping through the slides. Data, metrics, projections. Everything was solid. Everything was clean. But something was missing. I opened the file, scrolled to the final slide. It just said thank you. Plain, safe, forgettable. I deleted it, typed in a new closing line. Ila Morgan, Eastern University, class of never. Then, underneath, smaller, you erased me, so I built something that would last. My assistant glanced at the screen over my shoulder and blinked. That's bold. It's honest, I replied. She didn't argue. I took one last look at my reflection in the dark laptop screen. Hair tied back, no makeup, just a black blazer and the name. They once tried to silence. Outside, I heard clapping. The graduation had ended. Inside, the summit had begun. They were introducing the keynote speaker. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Metfear. And right around that same time, as cameras clicked and people turned in their seats, Lena's professor leaned over and whispered something to her. Her eyes went wide. Then I walked into the lights. The lights didn't feel too bright. The stage didn't feel too tall. And I didn't feel small. I stepped into the spotlight, with no speech in my hands. Only my name. Finally, my real name, glowing behind me in big white letters. Ila Morgan, CEO, Metfear Health. For a moment, the room went silent. No one clapped. Not because they weren't impressed, but because they were putting the pieces together. Whispers started. Then phones came out. Then the whole room quietly, breathlessly, realized they'd been quoting my work for years, without ever knowing it was mine. I cleared my throat. I built Met because no one in my family thought I could finish anything. Pause. And they weren't entirely wrong. I didn't finish college. I didn't finish Thanksgiving dinners. I didn't finish being the daughter they wanted. Pause again. But I finished this. Click. A map appeared on the screen. Our rural health network expanding. Small towns lit up. Places people forgot, now full of care and connection. Click. Hospitals we'd partnered with. Lives we'd already helped. Click. A blurry photo. 6 years ago. Soldering wires in the hallway of my dorm. No lab. No money. No applause. I looked out at the audience. Industry leaders, school trustees, professors, students. In the third row, sitting next to a junior faculty member, was Lena's professor. His eyes widened. He turned to her, still in her cap and gown, then back to me. You didn't tell me she was your sister. He said just loud enough for the mic to catch. Lena froze. He turned back to the stage. Nice work, CEO. That was the moment. Not the clapping that came after. Not the standing ovation. Not even the emails I'd get later. From people who once ignored me. It was that one sentence. From the one person she wanted to impress. The one moment she didn't control. The one truth that didn't belong to her. I didn't look at her, but I knew she was watching. And I knew my father was somewhere behind her, seething. I didn't need to speak to them. The truth already had a voice. And this time, it had a microphone. I left through the back door. No press. No photos. Just the echo of applause, still bouncing off the glass behind me. I didn't wait for anyone to say congrats. I didn't stay for the reception. I didn't need to. By the time I reached the hotel lobby, my phone was already buzzing. 37 unread messages. 6 missed calls from numbers I didn't know. And one text from my cousin. Was that you on stage? Dad nearly choked. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. A clip of that moment had already gone viral. The line, nice work, CEO, being replayed, quoted, retweeted, and in every there I was, standing at the podium, with nothing but my name, and the silence I'd carried for years. I didn't post about it. Didn't tag the university. didn't mention my sister, but I knew they saw it. Because hours later, Lena's graduation photo disappeared from my father's Facebook page, replaced with a vague quote about humility. Classic. Lena didn't tag anyone either. No smiling family portrait. No "so proud of my amazing support system" caption. Just one filtered photo. No smile. No context. I didn't speak to them, didn't answer their silence with noise. But they heard me. In the halls where my name had been erased. In the rooms they never thought I'd walk into again. In the voices of others. Professors, students, strangers, who now spoke the name they once tried to bury. Ila Morgan, CEO. Not their shame. Not their burden. Not their failure. Just the woman who walked in, stood tall, and didn't look back. The Monday after the summit, my inbox filled again. Not with press. Not with investors. With family. Not directly, of course. That would require acknowledgement. Accountability. Number. These came dressed in polite curiosity. A message from my second cousin. Hi Isa, long time. Just saw the keynote clip. Any chance you're hiring interns this summer? An email from my father's college friend, Greg. Mentioned you started something in healthcare. Would love to connect to a son just graduated. And is looking for opportunities. And then the boldest one of all. A message from Lena's boyfriend. Met once. He barely said hello. Now. Didn't realize Metfear was yours truly impressive. Let me know if you're ever building a legal team. No mention of Lena. No apology. Just doors opening. The same ones they'd once shut in my face. I didn't answer most of them. But I did forward one message to my assistant. Put this one on the not in this lifetime list. She replied with a thumbs up. And a smiling skull emoji. The irony wasn't lost on me. They called me a dropout. Said I'd be lucky to hold a desk job. Warned me not to embarrass the family name. Now they wanted desk jobs. From me. They didn't see the moment. I became their cautionary tale. But they would remember. The day I became their missed opportunity. And the best part, I never raised my voice. I just raised the bar. They pretended I was nobody. Not with insults. Not with shouting. But with silence. With empty chairs. With group photos. That somehow always cut off. Right where I had been standing. They didn't erase me violently. They erased me like pencil. Soft, quiet, careful. Until even I started to wonder if I'd ever been there at all. And when I finally walked away, no fight, no farewell. They treated it like relief, like the family had been reset. For years, I let them keep that version. Let them believe I'd faded. Let them sit in rooms and say things like, "We haven't heard from Isa in ages," as if I were a distant relative. Instead of a daughter, a sister, a soul, they chose to forget. But the truth doesn't stay buried. Not when it builds something that speaks louder than blood. This time, they couldn't hide behind silence. My name was printed on brochures, quoted in articles, echoed in keynote speeches. They couldn't scroll past it, couldn't pretend they didn't see. And that was the quiet revenge. I never once asked to be welcomed back. I just made sure that everywhere they turned, I was already there. Not as the girl they dismissed. Not as the failure they whispered about. But as the woman they now had to Google. The one with her own legacy. And no matter how hard they tried to look away, this time, I was unforgettable. I never went back to the house. Not even when my father sent word through a cousin. Something about putting things behind us. About family being family. He didn't mean apology. He meant image control. And I wasn't interested. There was nothing for me there. Not the room with the peeling wallpaper. Not the shelf where my childhood trophies used to sit. Not even the garden my mother once loved. Now wild and bitter in the summer heat. But I did return. Just not the way they hoped. I returned. In every hallway that now echoed with my name. In clinics across the country running on our tech. In classrooms quoting my early research. In whispers between professors and board members. Who once barely looked at me. They couldn't take credit for me. They couldn't even understand me. And that was the final gift. ID becomes something they couldn't hold. Couldn't rewrite. Couldn't reshape to suit their comfort. A professor from Easton sent me a handwritten note. He wrote, "We've added your keynote to our ethics curriculum under legacy and resilience." Legacy. Funny how that word used to feel heavy, like something I wasn't allowed to touch. Now, it's mine. Voiceover. Final shot. They pretended I was a distraction, a mistake, an empty chair at the wrong table. But when they buried me in silence, I came back with something louder. I came back with truth. Fade out. Music swells. Black screen. White letters. Ila Morgan. CEO. Unforgettable.